I'm outside of Hinckley with a very flimsy selfie stick. But I seem to be going down to the Colorado Valley, which is good because I've had so much elevation gain in Tehachapi. Let's go down. Coming down fast, but I'm miles above you. Dun 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 dun. Helter Skelter. Beatles, thank you. Whew. All right. All right. So here I am, probably in Hinckley, which reminds me of Hindley, Norman Hindley, the great Punahou poetry teacher. Willow and I both agree, the greatest influence on our high school lives ever. So, 10 more miles to Barstow. Shit, I got plenty of daylight. Then, do I take Amtrak to Flagstaff? Call my friend in Phoenix? What am I gonna do? You're gonna have to stay peeled for the next episode to find out. I finally reached Route 66. The Mother Road. I'm on the outskirts of Barstow, I guess. I don't see much suburbs. I went through a little bit of suburbs. Check my directions. Well, I got lost when I pulled off the State Highway 58, but knew I was lost and just pulled right into a stealth camp under some evergreen trees. Thank God I've got an $80 Sunto compass so I know where I'm going, because I started going off in the direction I thought was appropriate and it was not. And I found the right way back to Barstow. I was only an hour outside of it. Rolled into 66. It's the main street through Barstow. I found this park behind me, a block off of 66 Main Street. It's only 10, and I think 3 hours to Newberry Springs, so I'll go for it. Be on schedule or a little ahead of schedule. I hope you can see the mountains in the background. I'm well out of Barstow. I'm on Route 66, heading east. I'm about a mile outside of Daggett. Maybe this is Daggett. Daggett, I don't know. But look at the mountains behind me. Aren't they so spectacularly colored and beautiful? Just broke camp here on the Mother Road 66. I believe it's I-40 a little bit to the north. I break camp slow. I got up at 6. It's probably pushing 9. I see a bunch of trees up there. I hope it's a roadside stop with water, because I barely have 12 ounces of water for 20 more miles to Ludlow. So I hope there's water close to me, or else I'll be quite thirsty. This is it, 66. Fabled of legend and lore. And if you follow me on Instagram, it's Stonefruit Productions, lowercase, one word. You'll see I stopped at Baghdad Cafe, which I think was in A Boy and His Dog, which starred Don Johnson. Maybe 1 or 2 other movies too. And I just drive right by it, or bicycle right by it, and I'm, holy moly, Baghdad Cafe. So I ordered a burger and it took about 40 minutes, buffalo burger. And then it took about 20 more minutes for them to cash me out. It was not fast food, but it was a iconic restaurant in the middle of nowhere. Cokes for $3. Economists would call that inelastic demand in the Mojave Desert. Okay, 3 hours of riding. Let's say get there by 1. I probably should have asked that utility truck for water. I hope I'm framing this well enough to show you that it looks like only several hundred-year-old lava on each side of me, mostly on the south. I'll pull over so I'm sure to get a good view. As I hope you can see behind me, it looks like only a few hundred-year-old lava. This looks like north of Kona. But I've never heard of recent volcanic activity in Mojave Desert. But it's still black, barely has shrub grass growing out of it. I don't know. I really should ask that utility truck for water.
Time on the boat and all that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, every day. No,
He's got a good father. I think he's got a kid, right?
he's got 3 kids, and one of them's a ranger, and the other one broke David Goggins' pull-up record.
Yep.
Yeah, savages, raising savages, and he's got a beautiful daughter too, who's brilliant.
Yeah.
He's a man. I mean, he's the fucking man. But you know,
He stays injury free, sorry to interrupt. So
He's-
to the point of
he's-
preservation.
he's a weird one, man. He doesn't make any sense. Like, I don't know how his knees aren't trashed. Like David's, they're pulling out giant syringes. Like we were highlighting on the podcast with the Undertaker, how they're pulling out these giant syringes of pus from Goggins' knees. I don't know how he keeps going with those knees. Cam doesn't have those problems. Like one time I had to bring him to the doctor. We were in Vegas.
He on purpose.
Interstate 40, busy. Route 66, empty. Those 2 motorcycles were the first things in probably an hour. I try and hold up my hand and block out the interstate, and just imagine when this was the only road you could see.
The
Just
best
2-lane
bow
road.
hunter on Earth. And he makes there's a real argument that he's the greatest bow hunter of all time. Like if you ask me,
And telephones,
I love him
back
to
when
death,
that was high tech.
but if I wasn't his friend,
I sure as shit hope that's Ludlow down below. I haven't had water in a few hours. This is the desert. And we're still dropping elevation to Needles. Rest area, 58 miles closed. Ahaha. The ladies at Baghdad Cafe were talking about a gas station out here. At least I can probably buy bottled water. Maybe it'll be super expensive. Maybe there'll be tap. Whew. I've been looking on the side of the interstate looking for bottles of a tenth of the bottle that's still got water. Haven't seen any. I passed a few railroad service trucks. They probably had extra water. I didn't ask. Part of me wants me to suffer because I was dumb enough to leave Newberry Springs without filling up everything I had. And if Ludlow is only 20-something miles, Ludlow, 1 mile, I see the sign, all right. And if Ludlow is only 20 miles, I can do that on 4 ounces. It won't be pleasant, but I can do it.
Or two, I don't know what it is, like a day, or I forget what it is, but it's this crazy complication that shows the moon riding across, and when it goes dark, and this, I know when I can go outside and see the stars because I look at my watch. When my watch shows me no moon.
I'm leaving Ludlow, which was nothing more than a very busy gas station in the middle of nowhere, and a cafe, and another motel and gas station that burnt down, and a bunch of old dead businesses, some other dead motel, gas stations, some abandoned houses, and that's it. But this is where Route 66 splits off of basically being a frontage road along I-40 from Barstow and swings out to some of the most isolated, hottest part of the Mojave. So I'm an adventurer, but I must say I'm a little trepidatious. I've got about 6 liters of water, which should be more than enough if everything is going well, because it's the clerk at the gas station in Ludlow said it's 27 miles, which I'll take because Google says it's 29 and change. I'm going to drop 1,000 feet of elevation in those 27 miles. So it should be pretty easy to do 9 miles an hour. So let's say 3 hours of riding ahead. I came in around noon, a little before noon, into Ludlow, and I just chugged some Gatorades and waited for the hottest part of the day to pass. That's about the 6th car I've seen while I was waiting on the side of the road in the shade, and the trucker came and played guitar, Trail Magic. But I have only seen a handful of cars going east and west over those many hours, so there's not going to be a lot of traffic. But I've got a tube, I've got a tire, I've got 6 liters of water, I've got a pump, I've got a patch kit. I've been having some pretty long days. think we can do it. There's what I want to catch. One of those trains. I see the tractor trailers with wheels. There's a gap between the trailer and the bed. There's a truck, there's railroad car beds that aren't being used, that are just a bed. I daydream about it, but it'd probably be very loud and noisy. Here's another one of those trains heading east. I wouldn't mind hopping on. I've definitively lost sight of I-40. I'm in the middle of nowhere. It's a lot easier to imagine this as the road the Beats took. I'm starting to feel it as it exists in legend and lore. Pop culture. Well, Amboy Cafe and Motel was neither a cafe nor a motel, but it was a store where I could get some water, sodas, Dr. Pepper, Coca-Cola, Gatorade, some nuts and cheese and pepperoni to go with my box of off-brand Dollar General crackers from Porterville. So I get all my stuff, I figure out how much water I used yesterday. Big day. Yesterday was a little over 50 miles from east of Newberry Springs to Amboy Peak National Monument, about 2 miles outside of Amboy. So I figured I used 6 liters for that 50 miles. And this will be 55, so I have 6 liters again and half a liter of Gatorade. Drank some water, had those 2 sodas, so I'm all packed up and ready to go. And the guy says, "You're leaving at noon?" The worker at the place. Yeah, I dawdled. He said, "McDonald's?" "No, I dawdled." "Oh, well, good luck." "Yeah, but if you see some buzzards circling overhead, send out a search party." "Oh, don't worry about that." So it's 11:45 when I left, but 55 miles at 9 miles an hour, maybe 6 hours. Let's call it 7 and a half. Let's call it 7. Let's make lunch quick. That last car totally caught me with my pecker out pissing right on the side of the road. But I was committed, just kept going. So I rode about 2 miles in from Amboy Peak, Amboy Crater, to Amboy Town. One of the first guys I talked to whipped out a badge and said, "I'm the sheriff, the postmaster, and something else." And I asked him about the road closure from Cadiz on. I'd seen the sign, but it was knocked down at Ludlow, and I saw it again at Amboy. Road closed on National Trails Highway, Route 66. From Cadiz on, so I guess this is a side road to Cadiz. I asked him, is it something I can walk through on a bike? And he said, sure, it's just about 7 bridges that are washed out. Oh, so I can just walk through the wash? Yeah, there's bike trails that are already made. I don't know, maybe they put some hard rock down. I doubt it. But I can walk across a few washes. But the traffic I'm seeing from Amboy going east, it's people going and coming from certainly Palm Springs, judging by what I was hearing, and the customers getting gas and snacks. And it might be the quickest way to San Diego. I'll need to look at the map at lunch. Yeah, see, there's a lot more traffic. A lot more traffic. But this guy who was the sheriff, an officer of the law, he said go on through. And like I've said a zillion times on this trip, believe locals. So I don't mind passing through 7 washes, but I probably did at best 5 miles out of Amboy. So let's say 50 miles more to Essex. There's nothing. I have no service. There's not a square inch of shade. There'll be no traffic because there's not even a ghost town. I don't know if I've passed Chambliss yet, but there's a sign outside of town that says population 5 people and 1 dog. So for the next 50 miles, I'm going to be out of cell service, out of shade, and really hope nothing goes wrong. But it's these kind of calculated risks that make big long-term adventures exciting. And look at the country. It's so spectacular.